So let's see the interesting facts about HTML. Now there is a first public release 1993, so it's almost like 27 years now that like we are using HTML. And a proper like a paper which is published as HTML tags, it's like 1991, and the founder is Tim Berners-Lee. He's still active on the HTML and its evolution. How we see the HTML document? What is the basic structure? Everyone knows it, right? So it starts with the tag. It starts with the HTML tag itself, and it ends with the tag HTML. So how HTML document works is it is based on the tags, and every tag represents something. Each tag has its own meaning, its own representation, right? So let's say go to a particular website, okay? Then we'll understand what I'm saying about the HTML representation. So for example, if I'm opening a particular website here, let's say the name is test.techlist.in, okay? And if I do a right click and I do view page source, okay, so this is the website, a random website I have picked. And when I do the right click and view page source, it, it shows me the HTML code behind this particular website. And if you see this, if you observe this, it's written in HTML. Okay? There are some tags which represent something. Okay? There are some lists. See here, contact, blog, something is written here. If you see here, somewhere there must be contact and blog. Somewhere it should be there. I'm just guessing that it should be here. See here, contact, blog, it's written here. And their code is written here in that HTML in the background. Why we are talking about this? Let's understand one thing is who is a good test automation engineer, or who can become a good test automation engineer, right? What we automate, when we talk about the automation, you automate maybe the front end part or the back end part or the database part. But when you are automating, let's say when you are automating the front end, okay, front end means UI functional part. So when you are automating the UI functional part, okay, actually you are interacting with the web page. Okay, you interact with the web page. So I'm going back to this website. When you are clicking on, let's say, this login button, you are interacting with the button here or the link here. And when you clicked here, something has happened. Okay. So as a test case flow, you may want to go to the login, putting the email ID and password and checking if everything is working fine or not. But in the background, everything, whatever you are doing and coming back to your web page is actually HTML or CSS or JavaScript part. That's why if you want to become a good test automation engineer, you have to be good with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript part. I'm not saying that without this, you cannot start your automation career. or you cannot be very good. What I'm saying is, if you are good with this, it will make a lot of difference. And learning these things, it's not a big deal. Coming back to the web element part. So what is web element? Let's understand about web elements. So whatever you see in any web page is called web element. So here in this page, this contact option, blog option, product option, a particular, let's say, logo, or this text box, this blue button or blue circle, this login option, everything is web element. Everything we can say as a visible web element. Okay. Let's do some interesting stuff. Let's talk about, so these are the basic design. Whenever you see an HTML file, right, it's basically like whatever you write under the head tag, whatever you write under the head tag related to the title, or those are the hidden infos, right? But whatever you write under the body tag, that's a browsable data or visible text or visible elements, we can say. Okay. So next thing is, um, it's all about body tag. So whatever you write inside the body, right? That that is how the whole page will look like. So let me go to this example again. So you can see that I'm going up. Somewhere it will start its body part here. See here, it has started its body part here, and now this tech lift test is a span somewhere. It's probably, it will be, yeah, this one. So this represents this particular code. Okay. So body part is started here, and somewhere in the end there must be some, again, the body part at the end, right? There will be, don't worry about it, there should be some body and tag. Okay, coming back to this part, let's do a very simple thing. Have you seen that for example, let me open a particular website. I'm opening one website called testology.in. And have you seen that in some website there are YouTube videos are injected, right? There are YouTube videos. What is the code behind it? Have you ever thought about it? That how it is injected? Right? It's a very simple one. It's a very simple one. Let me open that thing. So I am opening a particular code. Okay. So if you see here, let me open first this so that we will check what is the user interface of it. So this particular website or an HTML page is showing us something here. Okay. So this particular website or HTML page is showing me two text box, one button, and something like this here. So the code behind that is something like this. Okay, so the code behind that is something like this. If you observe here, it is showing me the H1 tag, right? So as I said that whatever you see in the website is a tag. So as an automation engineer, I when I see a particular website, I should be able to guess it what kind of uh, element it is without going to. So once you will become, let's say, once you will become an experienced test automation professional, right? You will automatically get matured into this and you will be able to guess it if you are frequently, um, checking these elements for your automation code. You are interacting with your web page frequently for some kind of automation task for different pages, you will be able to guess it without even looking into the code. For example, when I see something like in a dark, and this particular font, I should be able to guess it. Probably it is the H1 tag. Okay. When I see something like this as a text box, so I should know that actually this is a particular input tag. So let me talk about this tag now. So here if you see input type is equals to text. And so what it says? It says that there is an input element and its type is text. So it represents a text box. But when I see this two extra thing, it is not making any sense to me, but actually that is important. So what it is written as ID is equals to F name, which represents its unique identification. So through ID, we can identify this text box. It's like giving a name, giving a unique identification for a particular element. Why the unique identification is required? Because once you will put something here, okay, once you will put some first name and last name, and when you click on the submit, obviously that these two details will be stored somewhere, let's say, or based on that, some business logic will be written. Anything can happen. So the development code has to get these values. That's why identifying the element is important from the development perspective also and for the automation perspective also. Because once you will identify the element, then only you can interact with it. Once you identify the element uniquely, then only you can interact with it. So coming back to this, that these are called the tags and these are called the attribute. So type, ID, name are the attributes and these are the values, the attribute values. Okay. We'll take the question answer session at the end. Don't worry about it. If you have any question, you can put it into the chat window. We'll talk about this all the queries maybe at 4 o'clock. I was talking about a particular YouTube, injection here, where in this page you are able to see that this particular YouTube video is presented. How we can do this? How we have embedded it? It's a very simple one. You have to make an iframe, okay, and you have to give the width. You have to give the width that okay, a particular length, sorry, height and the width that you have to give. And then you have to provide what is the source. What is the source of your YouTube video? So there is a particular path. And I'm going here where you can put the frame border, right? And there are some autoplay, some options related to what we are allowing in. And the iframe is closed. Okay. So iframes are the special kind of small window which you can put in your website. Okay. It's like this. So we talked about the attribute, and the values. So whenever there are tags, right, there may be attributes. Okay. So for example, here, when you see there is input type is equals to text, ID is equals to this, name is equals to something. So basically, there is this tag. You can identify any element through the combination of the attributes or a particular unique identifier. These are called attributes and these are attribute values. Okay. There are some special codes, whenever you will see in your page source, right? Don't get panic about it. Sometimes when we see the page source, we thought of, oh, what is this ampersand? So whenever you see an ampersand and some keyword, always think that this is actually related to some kind of special character in the HTML. Okay. So these are like when you see ampersand LT, it's related to, because it itself represent a kind of tag start. That's why it has to be put in the special character, right? Because let me go back. So for example, if the first, and I have to write this first, then there is a left arrow special character, right? So I should not do this thing actually. I should use some other way to put it because this is already used as a standard start of the tag option. That's it about it. I want to go to the real example one. I want to go to the real example one. And this is a kind of my favorite example here that let's say there is a particular website and don't worry about what it does. I just want to tell you that how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript works. Okay. So when you see like the color coding, like here, if you see it's showing me in the red color, you know, and a particular button in green color, a particular button in blue color. Right? So generally, these are decided by the CSS. Okay. CSS files may be written as a separate file from the HTML file to put, the style to your website, to put what kind of font your different headline will use, what kind of color will be a background color for different buttons, right? What should be the, you know, the height and width of the text box area. It will be decided by the CSS file or the CSS values. JavaScripts are generally, I'll give a simple example. So for example, when I say here, I'm writing something, username is this, and we'll fill some value, let's say India here, gender, I'm putting city, let's say some city we will select, and I click on the submit. So if you see here, it is showing me an alert box. So generally, these codes are returned into JavaScript. When I click on OK, here it is showing me the message. How it is showing me? Because it captures this Nitesh and it is showing me here. And for automation purpose, it is important to interact with this element where you are putting the values, and as an expected result, let's say I have to interact to this also. But in between, there is a JavaScript code. So if you want to become a good test automation engineer, actually, we should know about what happened in between. What happened when I click on the submit button? So if you want to know that what happened when you clicked on the submit button, you can simply right click here on the submit button You can go to the inspect part, and when you will inspect it, let me show it properly. So if you see here, it is okay. I'm telling you again how I did it. I simply right click on the submit, and there is option inspect. Okay. All the browser will have this option to inspect the element, and you can again inspect different elements using this arrow icon. If I click here, going back here, so here it is showing me that it is input type is equals to button, value is equals to submit, id is equals to abc, on click is equals to some function call. On click is equals to some function call. Where is this function? Is it written somewhere here, or where it is written? For that, there are different ways to check it. But I'm going to the page source. So here, if you see in the page source, you'll be able to see that there is a function pop-up return. I'm going back here where the submit button was present. So if you see the code for the submit button, it was like on click. So on click is again a kind of attribute as well as the keyword, which says that when you click on this button, what should happen. So this is a kind of function call. And if you see here, it will call this function pop-up. It is doing something like it is, you know, from the DOM structure, it is finding the element by ID uname, which is actually this username. So if I inspect this element, which is, if you see here, it's saying ID is equals to uname. So basically it is finding the values which is present in the uname element, and then we are just calling a function to show the alert, as well as we are doing something like putting the inner HTML as welcome username. It's a particular JavaScript code here, but a very simple one which says that wherever this message element is there, let me check where is this message element. This message element is this one, which was showing me the welcome first. If you see here, it was showing me welcome only, and then it embedded the value as Nitesh. Let me show again. Let me refresh this. So if you see here, you know, before we put the username, it was just welcome dot dot dot, because this is the code behind it, welcome dot dot dot. But this paragraph has its own ID, MSG, let's say. And once you will put something here, let's say I am putting username as Testology, and when I click on submit, observe that there are two things are going to happen. One is it is showing me welcome Testology, and when I click on OK, it is changing my message. How? Because we have written in the code that whenever this function will be called, you have to embed the welcome message with plus username. Okay, this is a like simple JavaScript code to take the values, and it is working in that way. Another thing what I want to tell you is, if you see here, there is particular CSS code is written, which is saying that wherever there is a paragraph, make it color red. That is why, that is why when we saw this welcome, it is coming in red color. Okay? And wherever there is a H1 tag, show in red color, alignment is center. That is why this registration and ATM are shown in again red color. Hash ABC means wherever the ID hash represents the ID, wherever the ID ABC is present, show the background as blue. Okay? So that is why this particular submit button which has the ID ABC. Let's check. I'm inspecting this. If you observe this, it is saying me its ID is ABC, and that is why it is showing me in blue color, and so on. I'm not going into detail like how it is, all the code is written, but it's a very simple one. What we want to talk about is whenever there is an element, whenever there is a web page, you have to understand that all the visible elements you can interact. There may be complexity, how we can interact, how you can find out the element uniquely, but there is always a way to find an element. If it is visible, then you can interact with it. Okay. So let me go to one more interesting thing here about parent and child in your DOM structure. So what is document object model first of all? So whenever you see the website, it is based on the document object. So when you say document object, it may have its own hierarchy also. So for example, and let's say we'll take the same example where we were opening this, and this particular thing is showing us, the registration page, where if you see here, there is a body and background color is yellow. Going back, this one background color is yellow, and there is H1 tag which shows you the registration. Perfect. And there is an anchor tag, which is there for this particular link. So when you want to identify a particular element, what we have to do is, and how we can see what is its parent and child, how you can do is, you can simply right click here, you can click on the inspect, and there are multiple ways, but the simplest way is, once you will find out that element here, right, through a unique identifier, let's say. So I am into input type text is equals to ID, let's say. Okay. So you identify this particular, but you want to know what is its parent. Right? So through the code only. So probably you can use it like the X path, let's say. So when you write the X path for this, what we write is input at the rate. At the rate represents here the attribute, and the value as, okay, there are two, so we'll use the ID. We are using ID as an attribute, and this is unique. So when I'm using this, it is getting highlighted. But what is its parent? So to find out the parent, you can simply write dot dot. Okay? Slash slash dot dot. So it will go to the parent. Okay? It will go to its parent. Okay? So see here, when I wrote this dot dot, it is highlighting the body, because the parent of this input tag is directly this body. So in this way, you can go up till any level in your DOM structure. So when we talk about the Selenium automation, most of our time is we spent on finding the element. There are multiple ways. There are tools also which we'll talk about tomorrow, about the selectors hub, and there are other ways also to find any element uniquely. Okay. Let me take one more example about the attribute part. This we have seen already. Okay. Okay. So here, if you observe, it's simple like H2 tag is there. There are paragraph tag is here. So this time it's difficult to find out, you know, a particular paragraph tag uniquely. So let me open this. So it's showing me one is in red color, and one is in. There are three. This is a paragraph tag. This is style is attribute of paragraph tag. This element contains tag, attribute, and content. Some code is written. Okay. So if you observe here, there is a particular style given to the second paragraph where the style is attribute of paragraph tag is present. So you have to identify how you have to think about how I can identify the things, the elements uniquely. Here, when you say there are two paragraphs, the difference both are paragraphs, but the difference is this particular has style also. This particular part has style also. So if I want to identify this, I can right click and inspect. Okay, I can right click and inspect, but I'm writing at the lower side. If you observe what I'm writing here at the lower side of this panel is I'm writing slash slash p. So it is, if you are able to see, there are two elements it is saying. When I did slash slash p, there are two elements. There are two paragraphs. But I want to identify the second one. So there are multiple ways. Maybe I can put it here one or two, which will directly get me the second paragraph. But I want to use the other attributes, right? So probably you can use XPath or CSS selector to find out. But the simplest way may be find out a paragraph, find out this element where the style is color and red. So can I use the style tag here? Can I write like style star is equals to red? Sorry, red. Yeah. See here, it is identifying now as a unique element, right? There is only one element present like this. And you can use the combination of this also. When I say style star is equals to red, I'm using a particular expression to say that where the style contains, so star is equals to means find out the substring. If red is present, find out a paragraph. So let me write it in the notepad. So what we are doing here is find out a paragraph where its a style attribute contains red, red, right? So if I change it to redo, redo, okay, it's not able to find. It's not able to find it. Okay, but when I change it to again red, it is able to find it. So this is that is why the element tag and the attributes are important to understand. Okay. Okay, guys. So this is like we want to talk about the elements part, and we'll talk about this finding it uniquely through the tool also. So we have Sanjay with us now, the creator of Selectors Hub. I welcome Sanjay, and you can take it from here about the web elements part.
Hello.
Yes, Sanjay.
Thank you, Nitesh. It was great introduction. Yeah. Even I learned a lot, so many things today.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. To learn about these web elements and all, and it is like very well explained. So I mean, these examples made easy for me like to explain about like some specific spatial elements on the web page. So before I start, I hope my voice is clear and my screen is visible. Nitish, can you confirm, please?
Yes, everything is fine.
Perfect. So, like Nitesh has already explained about different types of web elements, I mean, basically elements and about the attributes and values, etc. So, I hope you got an high level idea about everything. And in the DOM, like when we inspect the elements here, so there are multiple types of different types of elements, these web elements, which are being defined with the tags. Like there are div tag, button tag, style tag, header, section, etc. So many tags are there. Most of the tags we can write the standard format of selectors for them, but then there are some special types of attributes, special types of elements, sorry, not attribute also there. Before that, yes, there are special types of web elements like svg element. Then there is a shadow dom elements, iframe elements, which we have to extra take care about them, like something special we have to do when we handle them in our automation. So you will find that few elements in the web page which will be like svg elements, these elements. So basically these are what are the svg elements? Svg elements are basically I will not talk straightforward like definition like which you can find it in the books or somewhere. I mostly will be giving example, like practical example. What you would will be whatever will remain with you is that these are the svg tags are used for the vector kinds of element to represent some icon in the web page. So you see that this one is these icons like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, these are the icons which has been represented through vectors, and vectors are used, these kind of svg vectors. And here this has different types of tags. So basically these icons are created using these tags, and this has been embedded in the html. So svg, and we have to handle these svg tags in a different format of xpath. We have to write different kinds of xpath for these elements. So whenever you find something like svg tag, and inside that whatever tags will be there like path g or something, those will be the svg child tags. So I hope now you got it that whenever you find some icons and if they has the svg tag, you will have to extra take care of them, and these are the svg elements. We call them svg elements, and inside that whatever will be content inside svg, that will be svg child. For an example, if I show some bigger svg tag which has more info inside that, so if you inspect this element, so here you see that svg inside that g is there. So these g and path, these are the child element of svg, and this is svg tag. So if we have to click on this message icon, or if we have to perform some action on this message icon, we will have to write an selector or xpath for this svg element. Okay, so these are the svg tags or svg elements on the web page, which we have to handle like by different kinds of xpath. Not the standard format of xpath doesn't support by svg elements. uh, I hope this will help you. More we will discuss about it. Just a basic idea you from today's session you can take that there are something known as svg as well. So because what happened, like in normal standard, what happened whenever you will because you will keep inspecting, okay, this is means you will inspect some element like this, you will start writing an xpath double forward slash h3. Similarly, when you will inspect this svg, what you will do, you will like path you found, okay, double forward slash path you will write. But then you will find like, okay, this is showing 0 0, what does it mean? Then you will be confused like I have been taught that double forward slash tag name will give you the X path of, I mean, matching node of that particular element, but it is showing 0, right? Because here you see the path, and here it is showing double forward slash path is 0 of 0. While we all know that double forward slash tag name will give you the X path of that element. So by this, by knowing that there is something like SVG, you will be conscious and you will be aware about that this is SVG element. Okay. If you have any question, feel free to ask. I guess somebody ping on chat.
Yeah, so probably the question is Sanjay.
Hmm.
Somebody is asking, and it's a good question, that how to identify which front-end language is used in web portal. Is it like, can we identify by seeing the element or inspecting it what kind of front-end technology it is? Something like that.
Okay, so definitely yes. Not for the every application, but few application I knew it, so which I can tell you. But it's a good question. Not the like straightforward. I don't have the answer. Like just by looking at that, how can you get to know? But there are like, if any application is on React, I remember that something is there. React ID or something was there that we, with which we can get to know that this application is on React. So like if any application is on React, you will find that data React root something is there. That ID will be there, that term will be there in for the React application, like this React root. If any application, so like Flipkart, Mintra, if I open, so these applications are on React. So by inspecting that element, you will get to know that these element, you see that data dash React root, this you will find on React applications. For Angular application, though I don't remember that what is that term is there in the
NG. It is NG. So in the element, you'll be able to see NG. Yeah. Yes.
yes. So not yeah, right. So but there, I guess in one or particular element there will be something ng version, I guess you are saying, right?
Yes.
Yes. So for Angular, I guess this ng version. For React, you will find this data React root on top, first div itself. So this is how. And rest, like if you want to know, maybe like your team can help on that, like which application it is your, I mean, you must be knowing about your application. But yes, any public application, if you want to know, you can check in the DOM whether, like if it has data React root, then that means that's on React. If ng version is there, like Nitesh mentioned, so likewise different technologies has something with them. So yes, this you can check in the DOM. I hope, Ravi, that helps. In fact, like this is good learning for us as well. Like I was aware about React, Nitesh added for Angular, so good learning. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Probably, Sanjay, we can go to now about talking about any other special
Yes,
elements like iframe or
yeah,
um,
Shadow DOM we will talk about. Yeah,
shadow
so
DOM.
this is a
Yes.
very
Thank you.
important part because most of the time we are not aware. Many people doesn't aware about it, and that if how can we identify with whether this element is inside shadow DOM or not? Because just by looking at the, like without opening the DOM, we will never be able to know that this element is inside shadow DOM, right? So we will have to, when we inspect this element, so we have inspected this element, suppose, and it is here. So how we get to know that this element is inside shadow DOM, and what is shadow DOM basically? So before that, what is shadow DOM? Let me tell you what is shadow DOM. Shadow DOM, shadow DOM is a DOM inside DOM. Okay, so here the definition is DOM inside DOM, and it cannot, shadow DOM cannot exist without a DOM. It will always be attached to an element of an actual DOM. So you see that wherever you find the shadow root, something like this, shadow root, that means you can understand that this is a shadow DOM which is attached to this element, and it cannot exist alone. It always required an actual DOM. Actual DOM is start with doc type HTML, then HTML head, body, and all those things. But shadow DOM will start with shadow root element, like this. Okay. So now we understood that shadow DOM is basically a partial DOM which exists inside a DOM. It cannot exist without a DOM. It will always be attached to an element of an actual DOM. Okay, this is basically introduced for the security purpose. Now there are two types of shadow DOM. One is open. You see that this is shadow root open. It will always start with shadow root. You will not find anywhere written shadow DOM. You will find shadow root. Okay, shadow root open and closed. Two types of shadow DOMs are there. Open means we can access the content inside this DOM, inside this. But if it is closed, that means it is highly secured and we cannot access inside that. So that is the standard rule. Now if it is open, so here you see that there are elements here, and it is again inside shadow root, another shadow root. That means this is basically DOM inside shadow DOM inside shadow DOM. This one, this is inside this shadow root. So likewise, anyways, but if you inspected any element and you want to see that whether this element is inside shadow DOM or not, what you have to see, you have to check that this element, does this element exist inside any shadow root. So you see that is it existing, not inside this, not inside this. How I'm saying not inside this, because this is closed, it is not open, so it means this one is not inside this. This is closed, so not this. This is closed, not this. This is open. So basic, now we got to know that this input is inside this shadow root. If you collapse like this, so this input is inside this shadow root. So this element which we have inspected is inside shadow DOM, we can say that. And let me tell you the funda. Shadow DOM elements doesn't support the XPath, so we have to write only CSS selectors. And how can we write the selectors for them? Is that like by default Chrome DevTools doesn't support, so that's how. And there is no way actually to verify selectors for Shadow DOM elements. In tomorrow's session, we will learn how to write, how to verify selectors for Shadow DOM elements. For today, I hope you understood that how to verify that element is inside shadow DOM in DOM. How can you check that, and what is shadow root, what is shadow DOM, and yeah. Then so we have learned two special types, SVG and shadow DOM. One more special type is there, iframe element. Sorry. So if any element is inside iframe, then we have to take extra care for them as well. Just by, like, suppose in on selector sub, if you have any problem on selector sub, there is a chat window here. So you see that there's a chat window. So suppose we inspected this element here at chat window. Now this element, by default you will start writing XPath for this one like this, and you might face a challenge that when you execute your script it is not working. But here you will find that it will show you the one matching node for sure. In these scenarios you have to take care of, like, immediately. In fact, Chrome DevTools will not suggest you, so you will have to scroll up and see whether if it is existing inside any iframe. So how you can get to know that this element is inside iframe? You will find the open iframe tag here. This is open iframe, and then you will find that hashtag document. So this element is inside iframe. So if any element inside this kind of open iframe tag, that means that element is inside iframe. There is also one more is there, frame. So in when I will not be there, there will be frame, but hashtag document will be there. So those elements basically called as inside frame. So for them we have to, like, first switch inside iframe, then we can access those elements are inside iframe. So now we learned about three kinds of spatial elements which we have to, like, whenever we will handle those in automation, we will have to extra take care of those elements. One is SVG, this one. Another is shadow DOM, this one. And third is iframe, this one. So these are some kinds of elements which we have to, like, take care when we are writing our automation. Extra care basically, because if you will not, if you try to handle them directly the way you handle other elements, then you might, I mean, of course you will start getting error that element not found, stale element, or some kind of error. or XPath doesn't support. So yes, so we will learn more about how to handle these elements, how to write selectors for them in tomorrow's session.
Yes. Thanks, Sanjay.
Thank you,
And
Nitish. Yeah.